Welcome to the Radiant Edge Podcast, the podcast for soul-led women building bold, aligned businesses that feel just as good on the inside as they look on the outside. Because you're not here just to build, you're here to lead movements, shape ideas, and amplify your radiance. Welcome back to the Radiant Edge Podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Burge, and today we're deep diving into a topic that's been on my mind for a long time. We're going to talk about the revolution of women stepping into their own businesses and specifically why the pervasive marketing advice given out there online is fundamentally broken for women experts and thought leaders who are hustling to grow their businesses. I'm going to put a trigger warning right here, right now, as I'm going to challenge some hard, fast marketing rules today. And I'm okay with that because what I have to share may finally be the advice you have needed to hear if you are a woman who is multi-gifted and an expert in your field. But before we get into that, I want to ask you something. Do you feel a constant pressure to narrow yourself to pick one lane as the go-to expert? Have you written and rewritten your positioning statement and your offers endlessly to fit into this niche-down expertise model? And does that request for writing a value statement feel like it's never-ending? What if that's not the most effective strategy advice? But a masculine paradigm never designed for how women actually operate, create, lead, or thrive. Today, we're exploring why the traditional business marketing playbook inadvertently blocks women by nailing down their positioning and their thought leadership, yet denies the constellation of gifts that women hold, which are really their greatest competitive advantage that hasn't been claimed yet. So, if your mind is constantly racing, or you feel like your energy is directed to everything else but the clarity around how to describe what you do, let alone what you do for your clients, let's get to the heart of this matter. As women, we have followed the marketing funnels, hustle harder, bought the templates, try to fit ourselves into someone else's strategy, and for what? Often dissonance, many times burnout, only to make our businesses look good on paper, but felt like soul erosion behind the scenes. So before I go further, let me take you back in history for a moment. By the start of the 1990s, women had been routinely entering the workplace for 15 to 20 years approximately. Yet the expectation was that women would simply slot into cultures and structures that had been designed entirely by and for men. It was commonly assumed that any woman who aspired to a high position would need to adopt the traditional male behaviors and style. The advice was explicit. Suppress your natural ways of working, leave your values at home, act like a man if you want to succeed. And here's the thing. We listened. We tried, we hustled, we proved ourselves, we adopted the aggressive, task-oriented, always-on approach that was modeled for us. And as a woman, if you decided to move into business ownership at some point in your career, then the stressors were magnified with all the growth scaling models, tactical marketing blueprints, and cold outreach strategies. But it's all come at a cost. There is this disconnect from the leadership you are portraying and the reality that your nervous system is feeling. And this is largely in part that leadership has been strongly and consistently viewed as culturally masculine across various paradigms. And this isn't just perception. Historically, leadership roles were largely reserved for men, with societal norms dictating the qualities such as strength, decisiveness, and competitiveness being the most suited to positions of authority. So when women entered these spaces of entrepreneurship, and specifically developing high levels of expertise, we faced what research called the double bind. Initially, women who had adopted assertive behavior and leadership styles may be perceived as less likely and warm, and receive negative evaluations or discriminatory treatment, such as being passed over for bids on projects and seen as a bit of a pushy bitch. But if women are too feminine, were perceived as incompetent, less knowledgeable, and unreliable. And either way, it's a lose-lose scenario built into the foundation of how business operates. And this is the masculine paradigm in action, linear, relentless, and unyielding. And the result? Well, women are literally leaving the workforce, not because we can't handle the work, but because the way that we're expected to work is fundamentally misaligned with our nature. And now, women are opening up businesses at a staggering rate. And the challenge is that they are continuing to operate under some of these outdated stereotypes. Let's look at the stats. So according to the foundersreports.com, Female entrepreneur statistics of November 2025, 1 in 10 women around the world started a business in 2023 compared to 1 in 8 men. And women's startup activity rates rose from 6.1% in 2001 to 2005 to 10.4% in 2021 to 2023. And fundamentally, women are shifting the entrepreneurial landscape. And thank goodness, we are revolutionary in reestablishing frameworks that, while functionally fit the world of men, does not fit the reality of women. So let's get to the heart of why I wanted to have this conversation today. You've heard it 1,000 times. The riches are in the niches, and that you need to niche down to stand out and pick one thing and become known for it. This is a linear point of focus that, for obvious reasons, provides clarity for buyers. In fact, for nearly 4 years, I was the lead success coach for a 7-figure online marketing program for consultants that primarily consisted of male clients. And this was the mantra we rallied around daily. However, after working with over 600 clients during that time, I believe that the pervasive advice to niche down is fundamentally masculine in counsel, and it fails to honor the multifaceted wisdom women naturally embody. So let me explain. Niching down does work. If you want to build a company that can be easily acquired, easily replicated, easily categorized, yes, niching down works. Even in businesses like consulting, the mantra is pick a problem-solution approach, nail that down, sell that one thing, and be the go-to expert. However, in the many years that I have worked with coaches and consultants, I found that this very same mantra became a roadblock many times for the women who were tapped into more spiritual tools or were in the depths of utilizing emotional intelligence in their work. Industries like human resources, healthcare, mental well-being, leadership, learning and development, and a whole host of other variations of work that is client-centric and is based on the collaborative improvement of the client's ability to thrive through transformative experiences. And this advice to niche down doesn't account for women's holistic intelligence. And here is why. Women don't see the world in isolated silos. We see connections. We understand that marketing impacts operations, that culture affects strategy, that personal development influences business results. We're pattern recognizers. We're systems thinkers. We hold complexity without needing to reduce it. Using the power of holistic decision-making and emotional intelligence are two of the key characteristics feminine intelligence has within leadership. And when you tell a woman to pick one thing, you're asking her to amputate parts of herself to fit into a framework that was never designed for how she actually creates value. And research backs this up. 64% of readers expect thought leadership content to challenge your thinking, according to a LinkedIn poll. See, people don't want more of the same narrow expertise. They want integrated wisdom. They want someone who can connect the dots that they can't see themselves. So here's where my contrarian position is. Women don't need to be narrowed into a niche. We need to be clear in our impact. There's a massive difference. Being narrow means limiting yourself to a single service, a single industry, and a single methodology. Being clear means positioning your entire constellation of gifts in a way that makes sense to your ideal clients. This is more a horizontal and harmonious approach to positioning. So let me give you an example. A traditional niche down approach statement. I help anxious women entrepreneurs build sustainable businesses using a 7-step framework to increase their certainty and confidence. Not bad, very clinical if you ask me, but doesn't offer the breadth of work that typically one would have when they're using a lot of these other constellation gifts. So here's the challenge. I'm going to flip this and we're going to try constellation core positioning. Same service provider, new concepts. I work with leaders who sense systemic problems within their organization, yet are not confident how to address them. Using quantum-level shifts in the body, not just the mind, I help anchor decisive clarity. I see integration points where business strategy, nervous system regulation, and energetic alignment create breakthrough velocity for these leaders. My constellation includes somatic intelligence, strategic foresight, and energy work. Notice what that does. It honors the breadth of what you offer while being crystal clear about who you serve and clear on the transformation to connect with clients deeper with integration points. This is what I mean by positioning your constellation of gifts as your differentiation. Multi-passionate women aren't scattered or unfocused. We possess a holistic intelligence that sees connections others miss. And the integration, that ability to weave together seemingly disconnected threads into a coherent whole blanket, that's precisely what makes us valuable. Now, what if your ideal clients don't know what your constellation includes? Maybe somatic work or strategic consulting and shamanic journey work. Will clients understand? This type of positioning isn't listing everything. It's identifying the integration point that creates client transformation. You communicate the outcome, then reveal the constellation as the methodology. And this positioning approach also moves you out of feeling like you're selling only your tools. This is often the challenge I see when I've worked with multi-certified practitioners. Listen, the business world doesn't need more people doing one thing really well. It needs more people who can hold multiple truths at once and who can integrate strategy and soul. Women often can see the forest and the trees, and that's feminine leadership. So by forcing yourself into a narrow niche, that's not strategic positioning. That's honestly self-abandonment. As multi-gifted women utilize holistic intelligence to connect with clients deeper by positioning integration points with unique patterning, it brings a transformation to life that others can't access. You're the expert in seeing what lives at the intersection by identifying the threads. This is the true differentiation. And what does the alternative look like? This feminine business revolution isn't about rejecting strategy or ignoring market positioning. It's about recognizing that feminine principles aren't soft, they're strategic. It's about understanding that soul alignment and market positioning are not opposites, they're prerequisites for its sustainable success. And it's about claiming your right to be multifaceted, complex, and integrated without apology. Now, here are my 3 reasons why I believe constellation positioning is the new framework for women's authority. Number 1, it's synthesis over synthesis. Like I explored today, traditional positioning says pick one thing, and the current portfolio career advice out there is find the common thread that connects. But I'm proposing something that's more sophisticated. Synthesis is the moment of comprehension, understanding where the contrast gifts reveal their higher order patterns. And this isn't reduction, it's revelation. And number 2, quantum intelligence as positioning. Feminine strategic intelligence involves reading situations holistically, seeing risk before it appears on a spreadsheet, and thinking decades ahead rather than just quarters. The constellation framework positions this access to higher quantum realms not as woo-woo, but as strategic competitive advantage. And number 3, integration points, not niche corners. Rather than finding the smallest addressable market, constellation positioning identifies integration points where multiple domains intersect to create transformation others can't see. This is closer to systems thinking approach of identifying leverage points that create meaningful change through interconnected understanding. So as you can see, the path forward isn't about women becoming better at playing by the old rules. It's about changing the rules entirely. And with more women moving away from the corporate structure, there has to be something different to offer them. Building a business structure before you delve into the strategy needs to be the new starting point. It's about building businesses that honor feminine wisdom. It's also about valuing integration over specialization, recognizing that the most powerful thought leadership often comes from those who refuse to be categorized. And here's what I know to be true. The women who will define the next era of business aren't the ones who successfully amputated parts of themselves to fit in. They're the ones who had the courage to show up whole. They're the ones that said, my multifaceted nature isn't a liability, it's my signature essence. My refusal to niche down isn't a lack of focus, it's strategic integration. This is why I'm calling for the feminine business revolution within entrepreneurship. Not women trying to succeed in the masculine paradigm, but women building an entirely new one that values depth over speed, integration over specialization, sustainability over scale at all costs. One where you don't have to choose between soul and strategy or abandon your values to achieve success. And finally, where you're being fully, unapologetically yourself is not just acceptable, it's your greatest competitive advantage. So here's my invitation to you today. Stop trying to fit into the framework that was never designed for you. Stop apologizing for your multifaceted gifts. Stop forcing yourself into a narrow niche because someone told you that's the only path to success. Instead, get clear. Get clear on who you serve, get clear on the transformation, get clear on the unique constellation of the gifts that you can offer, and define the intersection points. And most importantly, trust that the world doesn't need another narrow specialist. It needs integrated women leadership who can hold complexity, see connections, and build businesses that honor both vision and values. And guess what? That's you. That's the feminine business revolution, and it starts now. And if this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Share this episode with a multi-passionate woman who needs to hear that she doesn't have to shrink herself to succeed. And join me next time on the Radiant Edge podcast, where we'll continue to explore what it really takes to lead with feminine energy, purpose, and authenticity in the landscape of entrepreneurship. Until then, stay radiant.